Informatics Institute of Technology is the unmatched pioneer in conducting world-renowned British higher education in Sri Lanka since 1990. IIT has produced over 3,000 graduates that are empowering over 250 organizations around the globe. IIT offers a foundation program and internal British undergraduate degree programs such as software engineering, computer science with specialization pathways, business information system, and business management from University of Westminster, UK. At IIT, students are provided with an opportunity to gain work experience during the course of their degree. Many multinational and local blue chip companies have come forward to provide internship opportunities for IIT students. Join IIT and become the next great innovator or business leader. IIT will build your path to success.
When we started in 2015, Facebook was not as much a big deal as it is now 5 years ago. But with people turning towards social media to get their information, more and more importance came into what sort of information is out there on social media and how we use it. So I think it's important to understand that right now anyone can make content, but it's about how to get the meaning across to your audience in the best way possible. Because what I've seen a lot is people do content, but not everyone can relate to it, because although they have the ideas to make the content, they have not been able to put it across to their audience in the correct way, or they have not understood their audience. So I think Pulse throughout our journey, Pulse says what we've tried to do is understand our audience and give the information to the audience, to our audience, in the simplest manner possible.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you. That was very insightful. So moving on to Raoul. So since Sachitha actually talked about understanding the audience and everything, I want to ask Raoul. Raoul, so Raoul Rutnam has actually been recognized and acknowledged for basically spitting out the hard truth and without making excuses about it. And I've seen a lot of appreciation for your content for just being sincere. So what are your thoughts about content being sincere during this era?
I mean, I don't think it's just about content to be sincere in this era. I think everyone should be sincere, whether it's in a personal relationship wise or whether, so for me, luckily enough, I was brought up in a way that I was told to be sincere, and I've been brought up that way. So I know to be sincere, and it's not something that I force, but I see a lot of people who make content just for the sake of it, or they start writing stuff, or they, for example, even they talk about depression when they don't really know how to relate to someone and like help someone. And I see a lot of people doing that, and it brings a bad image on people who are actually being sincere and doing something for a good cause also. So it's super relevant to be sincere in this content creating world that we have at our fingertips.
Right. Would anyone like to add on to that in any means?
Well, I would like to say something. Yes, I think lots of people think that social media is seen as, most of the time, when you, what we need to understand is someone making a digital footprint should also go hand in hand with their life in person. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you might have a person with 1 million followers, but they can walk right into a room and nobody will even notice them. Right. Because it could just be, it cannot be seen as, oh, I'm just doing it because, I get products, or I get an endorsement, or I get like $15,000 to post something. Mm-hmm. When you do social media content, you are actually creating a wave, a lifestyle that people are looking at you. So your impact has to, as what he said, has not only to be what you deliver on screen, when somebody meets and speaks to you, your reflection of what you have spoken, done, photographed, written, web streamed, or even commented on has to all mirror you. If it cannot mirror you, you have actually failed as a person. So in that case, you have failed terribly on social media.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So I would actually like to pose a question to all of you in general. So building up on what Raoul and Danu said, I've actually noticed quite a few people who are lobbying for being sincere on social media, in the sense they're posting pictures of themselves without filters, opposed to with filters, to show how social media can distort images. And they will also post about their bad days and what they're going through, as opposed to just posting about just the good things in their lives, right? So does that make a proper impact, and what do you think about that whole movement?
I think to your friends or a group of people who understand you, posting everything is okay. But posting everything to everyone, to general public, it can sometimes have a bad effect. People can write negative remarks. They can pull you down. They might not understand you. And even when it comes to your future employees, they look at all aspects of you. So therefore, there is the possibility in social media to restrict it to groups. So you need to know what you should put to whom, and who will applaud you, who will help you. Maybe they could see all what is required, but certain things, if you don't know people, trying to expose everything to them can be also detrimental, especially if you have certain strong beliefs about certain things and it is not appreciated by others.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Would anyone like to have a go?
Yeah, on talking about that, I think for me, in my perspective, I would say if you're being a content creator or a YouTuber and you're putting out content, try and be as transparent as possible. And that's what I live by, because I want people who follow me to know, like, there are definitely good days, and you see what I post on Instagram and you see my good side. And then you also have the side that, I don't want to talk to people one day, or I just have some depressive thoughts, or I'm just not in the right mindset to create content. And I want people to know that, because there's a whole facade of, content creators out there that they have this they try and show that they have nothing but perfect lives, which is not true, which isn't fair for the public that follows you, because then they believe, or they would see it as, okay, they have a perfect life, like why can't I have it? And that could bring out a negative effect on how people try and live their lives, because they're trying to then try and perfect it. But the truth is, none of us have perfect lives. We've all gone through something, we've all been through something, we maybe even still be going through something. So everyone should be, I think, should be shown that side too.
Right. Okay. Sachitha, Danu, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think what's important is that we understand the power of social media, because it's basically how people consume information. So I believe that media plays a huge role in how people think and how people minds are shaped. So it depending on your audience again, I think it's important that you promote a set of value systems that you identify by, because at the end of the day, it's you're communicating to the general public, you're communicating with the outside world, and you're shaping the minds of how all your viewers think. I mean, consume information, understand what's going on in the world. So I think it's important that both sides are shown, but it's always transparent.
Just going back to the way you put the question out, you asked us about, how some people like to Photoshop, some people like to use filters, some people don't. yes, it has become a conversation now with the fact that, oh, you use filters. Oh, really? Um, Filters have always been there ever since I think Instagram came out. They were the most ugliest filters at one time. Now people have got more smarter in making it look nicer. Everyone wants to look their best. If you go to a photo studio and you want to take a picture, you will make sure you dress your best. You don't want to look like a dog on the street to go and stand there. So trying to look your best in what you're putting out, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But trying not to be you is not right.
Okay.
Like if I was doing a photo shoot for a brand and let's say I had a massive boil on my face that day, them photoshopping that is understandable because I'm going to do something about my boil. I want it off my face. But if my face is made in a certain way, I should be able to accept it because that's who I am. So as long as somebody, and also like because we are some people who work in media or in social media, we can see through these. So we are like, never mind. And we move on and we scroll through. But some people who look up to these individuals or look up to these personalities may find them feeling awe, because sometimes I can stand in front of a car and take a picture and be going home in a dry show. But you cannot believe everything on social media because transparency is so limited. For one, it could be a platform of work. For one, it could be a platform of motivation to inspire other people. For some, it could just be a form of business. For some, it could just be a pastime. And for them to live in that social media world is one thing. It's your responsibility as a person who is on it to be smart enough to understand this is right, this is wrong, this is put on, and this is fake. And if you're not smart enough to be on it, that's a bit of a problem.
Right. Thank you. That was a very insightful answer. And I think that's a fresh perspective to many of us. So, building on what you said about you can't believe anything on social media, I would like to pose this question to Sachitha. So, Sachitha, as fast as news travels on social media, fake news also travels really fast on those platforms. So, how does Pulse combat this situation of fake news? Like, what's the process used to validate the news you get and make sure everything is verified?
Fake news is obviously a big problem when it comes to social media, and I think Facebook has put in a few measures as well for this. They are working very closely with few news agencies in Sri Lanka, making sure that the news is verified. And now Facebook has an option where once people share some story, and if they do verify that it's fake, they take it off their timelines and they send a notification to people who have put up who have shared this certain post. So I think in the future we will be able to see the decline of fake news, hopefully. But so when it comes to us, what we do is a lot of fact checking with industry experts, and then also making sure that we check with multiple sources about whatever story that we're publishing about, and always report both sides of the story, because at the end of the day, media should not create news. Media should just report it. Media outlets should be sort of like the vehicle for the information to be carried from point A to the people. And I think it's imperative that media understands that we cannot shape news or make news, but rather report it the way it's there. So I think also, I mean, we work very closely with other journalists. It's one of our parent companies. So in terms of combating fake news, obviously, these are the things that we would usually do. So referencing and speaking to industry experts, checking with multiple sources, and talking to both sides or all parties involved in whatever story. That's what we stick to.
Right. Okay. So, media is obviously a very objective platform to put news on. But when it comes to personal content, that objectivity might be uh, a little influenced by who's following you and who you're following. So, Rahul, the next question goes to you. So, how do you keep your content sincere? Do you think your followers affect your content in any way?
Oh, for sure. They definitely do affect my content in all the ways possible, I guess. I get a lot of negative comments, I get a lot of positive comments, and that definitely does affect the way I put out my content. And I, like I said in the beginning, I give all the credit to how I was brought up because I was always taught to be sincere, and I am so grateful that that happened because I don't hide anything from whoever, and my followers do follow me just because they know that I'm very straightforward and I call out people whenever I see something wrong. And even people that I work with closely in the collaborative forum of Instagram influencers. So uh, I think the people who follow me definitely have an impact, that's for sure. And the way I put out my content is because I want people to realize like I'm one of those people they can come and look at and be like, hey, he's saying this guy is wrong or she is wrong because he or she is doing such a thing. And it's also fine to be opinionated, but you also have to be open towards like, different opinions if you're still opinionated on something, because that's how we learn and evolve as human beings.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So, next question is for Danu. Danu, you've used social media and your creative talent combined to make a name for yourself, right? So, what are the challenges you've had along the way as someone building up your personal brand online?
So I think the the reason why I stepped onto social media was quite a interesting story because I have left mainstream television at that time. And because I left mainstream television, I felt there was a void in me because I connected on so many levels on TV in three languages in so many ways, and I miss that. I've always
Right.
been fond of entertaining people and trying new things. So I wanted to create a brand which was quite interesting and quite unique in my brain, in my mind. So WTF was a very it was a it was a baby that was born like that. The fact that of course I was trying to get it on some kind of a news platform for it to get the mileage that it can get, for it to be recognized, because it was also very controversial three letters that have been around in many different ways than the usual ways. So I twisted it and I made it what to find, where to find, who to find, and when to find. And I have now patented WTF so that it cannot be used in Sri Lanka by anyone else except me, because it was becoming a bit of a problem eventually. But when I started social media, Instagram was not a big deal at all. Like people post one picture today and they'll come back to your Instagram account in 10 days. They don't care because not everyone was on Instagram, and Facebook was a thing. And at that time, the reason I still remember at that time, like I do not call them my competitors, but people who do similar content. Pulse had not started, Yamu TV had not started, so the brands have not started. And I remember when I did my first video was on Polos cutlets at Good Market. Now this is like dating 6 years ago, or 6.5 years ago. And the thinking for me was, and this is when we used to watch YouTube videos which were this long, was, sorry for the language, but how long does it take for me to go to the loo and get up? And that made sense to me because if not, I'm in a bus or I'm in a trishaw, I can't watch a video. When I come home, I am miserable. I might want to maybe watch a movie, but I'll watch it in three pieces because we don't have time. And this is like actually like I never had a scientific thinking behind it. It was just me just thinking and like creating a little video, and I was like cutting it short. And I worked with a brilliant team called You're My Favorite, who I still work with. And they understood this gimmick of what I was trying to do, like watch the video quick. So that was my start to social media. At that time, I didn't even know Instagram videos will be made 1 minute at one time in my life. Like I didn't know that Instagram videos will be only 30 seconds. I think at one time it was only 30 seconds. Then it was made 1 minute. So I never knew these. I just did it for the simple science in my mind, thinking, oh, maybe I just need short amount of time to watch it. And I wanted my content to be as local as it can be. I wanted, because I've always been in English medium, and always in English medium, I've always used words like ayo and what to do, man, terrible, no. And these used to create problems, but I always wanted to speak that way because that's the language he spoke. And when I started writing columns up to date, I can't write very well. My spellings are atrocious, and I think I kill the queen with my grammar at times. But I always make sure that I write saying, terrible, no, yes, ma'am, this happened. So it makes it more colloquial, because we also need to understand we do have a huge British influence in us, but we are also very Sri Lankan in so many ways. We really do like to scratch our tummies and go to sleep. We are that kind, and we love that comfy, home, warm, kottu eating type. So we need to be that. And as long as you are that, I think it will come about. So that was my start to social media. Up to date, I have never ever like boosted a post by myself on my Instagram. If it's a paid partnership, it being boosted, yes. Up to date, I haven't. Sometimes like today in the morning when I saw I had like some 23,000 followers, and it went to 22, and I was like, oh my God, why? What happened? Why did I lose these people? But that's okay, because not everyone needs to like you. So I might have just ticked somebody off with one post. Like I might have said something that would have annoyed somebody and be like, but it's fine. That's what people are. I have unfollowed Jennifer Lopez. What did that poor woman do to me? But she annoyed me one day. So that's how life is. So
Right.
that was the start of social media.
Okay.
But I'm still on 22, by the way. Yeah?
Sorry?
I'm still on 22. I never got that 3 again.
Well, hopefully after this you'll go back up to 3.
Thanks.
So, talking about building personal brands online, I'd like to pose this question to Miss Naomi. So, Miss Naomi, we see a lot of undergraduates on LinkedIn more than any other social media when it comes to their higher education years. So, they'll be documenting their small achievements and building their profiles. So, from an academic perspective, how would you say being connected digitally benefits students?
Yeah, it's very good to have a LinkedIn profile, because you can little by little add your projects, your achievements, what you're doing, sometimes the recommendation from your lecturers, and you can build a network of people, because this becomes a platform. This is a social media platform to apply for internships and future jobs. And also for them, when they are in the LinkedIn, they would be able to review companies, see what they are doing, uh, and know the ratings, what others say, and to see whether they are interested in those pathways to examine companies. So it's a very good thing. It also helps students to showcase their talent. So it's a good medium.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Sachitha, I'm coming back to you for a minute. So, what I want to know now is like, Pulse is a very widespread organization. So, it's utilizing many different mediums of communication, say blogs to videos to graphics and pretty much everything else. So, how does Pulse keep up with all these different mediums and basically convey a consistent brand representation through all of this?
I think it's how you put the systems in place at the beginning itself. So when it comes to Pulse, from the beginning, whatever new properties that we came up with, we always made sure that we had a set of guidelines for each and every property. So it won't matter if two different people are editing the same segment, because they'll still know what to go in there and what to not go there. So it's, I think, to do with coming up with a set of guidelines and then coming up with a set of core values, and then making sure all your entire team knows of these values that you want to reflect through your work. So then afterwards, it's pretty much just sticking to the brand guidelines that we've come up with. So it's pretty much what we did was we kept coming up with different blog videos to articles to different type of videos to recipes, and even with the magazine. I mean, we're on TV, digital, and print, all three platforms. But across all of these, what we made sure is that everyone knows the guidelines. So we came up with, we have a guidelines book, 4 parts, and so no matter who leaves and who comes in, or anyone new to the team or any old team member, everyone would know this, and everyone would know the guidelines of what needs to go in a particular story or video or an article. So it's all about putting all of these things in place at the beginning itself, I believe. And if you do the groundwork well, I think it's pretty easy afterwards. It's just sticking to what you come up with.
Right. Okay. That was a fascinating insight into how the big corporations work, which was really insightful. So, but when it's a corporation, it's a different story to when it's by yourself. So, Raoul, this next one is for you. So, as a YouTuber, I know there's a lot of pressure to create content and compete with every other person who is on YouTube, which is pretty much everyone these days. So how do you cope with the stress, and especially when you might have followers looking at you to create content daily or maybe even twice a day or so?
Okay, so that's a good question, because I get a lot of people, like even core YouTubers, who come and tell me you should up your content game and be more consistent with what you post, but I only post every Friday. And that's also because I don't want to burn myself out, and I make sure that people know that I'm going to be putting out content just every Friday on YouTube for now. And because there's only certain things that you can rant about during a week, you know, that you won't find topics all the time, and you just don't want to repeat yourself, or you don't want to just put out content which is not great. And I originally started putting out content on YouTube not for anyone. It wasn't to get anyone's attention, it wasn't to please anyone or anything. It was just me ranting and venting when I just had to, when I wanted to. And then it caught up, and then people were like, hey dude, I really love your stuff. And from there it went on to being more consistent. And I think a lot of people should understand that you will face difficulties when you're creating content, and that's completely fine, because we are all human. And the ideas will start to flow as soon as you get out of your creative block. And if you are being pressured by people to create content, just take it with a grain of salt, because they want your content because they love it and they want to wake up to it, or they want to just go to sleep after watching it or something like that. So just take it with a grain of salt and do the best you can. And just like everyone else is agreeing to, be as transparent as you can, you know, and be yourself, like Danu said, because that's what people are coming for. Don't try to change who you are. Be just exactly who you are, and people who would follow you would follow you.
Right. Thank you. So be yourself, like Danu said. So going back to Danu, so here's the fun part. I asked several people, okay, what do you know about Danu? I just wanted to know like what everyone thought. And every different person basically told me, oh, I know him from this. No, I know him from that. And it's like a lot of people didn't know you from the same place. They all knew you from different ventures. So how, I just want to know, how do you manage pretty much juggling all of these different shows and different activities throughout your days?
Basically, I'm actually someone who gets bored very fast. I have a concentration of a fish. That's actually the truth. I would have called Sachitha many a times, asking, breaking my brain and bothering that poor soul with ideas, and sometimes Anuki as well, just to dig in for more things that I may be able to do. I've always been someone. Uh, for me, like the field of entertainment for me is, I've never considered doing it for, oh, I need to be recognized, or I need to be stopped by people. Nothing. It's just a form of me relating to people. Like the stories that are very dear to me are the people who have sent me a message saying, oh, you made me smile today, or I'm so happy after I heard you laugh. Like my mother hated my laugh, and there's somebody out there who likes it. So I was like, oh, how sweet. Um, the things that I do on social media or in any platform, like for a week, I have 100 things happening, and I've always liked it. Like during COVID, I still remember when I first recorded Date with Danu after COVID, or after the lockdown per se. I actually had butterflies in my stomach before I went to sleep. This is after me being in media for 18 years, and I would have hosted over, I think, a million shows in my life so far. I think I'm definitely sure I hosted more than Oprah. But it's just that there is that sense of excitement, the sense of wanting to be there. So I just feel that I have never done it. Like up to date, my WTF has like, I think, some 4,000 followers or something, because they get to see it on my page as well. But there's so many people who appreciate it that are up to date. Even today, where I am right now, I'm at a recording, and I've just come during the recording to do this. But I love it. I love that experience of meeting people and connecting with people. I think what media does, I think today everyone is a media person. If you have a phone and internet on you, you have become someone who is responsible enough to change the mind of a person. It could be for the best, it could be for the worst, but it's what you choose to do. I have never dabbled between news or current affairs. I've always wanted to see the fun side to life, because there's always a black and white print on newspaper, because that's what you call news. But it's very rare that you can find a yellow spot where you can smile a little bit. So I rather do that. So I've always enjoyed it. Sometimes it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of, and also another thing in media or in social media or whatever, as Sachitha said, consistency is very important. You can't start a project and be like, you reap the benefits only after so many years. But you're also another type, maybe, who will be lucky with your first video, you'll get 400,000 followers and you're like super happy in life.
Right.
But then you have to always be in that level of video, getting your 400,000 people to like you. Like people who have had one-hit wonders are the ones who have hit their first song to hit number one in Hot Wheel 100, and not had a chance to come back with a song that matched that expectation. So you have only heard one song of theirs. So it's always good to grow. So it's always good to be you in all what you do. Like if you put me on Date with Danu, WTF, whatever I do, I'm still me. So that's what, but I'm grateful.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. I think that was really useful for everyone. It's certainly something to think about. So before we move on to our next question, I want to just follow up to what you said. So there's like two kinds of people on social media. There's one group that thinks that even if you have one follower, then it's your responsibility to make sure you're someone worth following. And there's another group who thinks that if you're not labeled influencer or journalist or digital media reporter, then you can post whatever you want with no regard to the consequences, because you're not labeled as someone big on social media. So I just want to know what all of your thoughts about that is?
About that, I think a couple of weeks back, we saw people actually putting out stories saying, COVID is done now, restaurants are going to open up, people are trying to get back on their lives. So the minute you see something bad happening, don't take your phone out and put it online. First try and go talk to the manager or whoever responsible there and try and see if you can get them to sort it out. I think I believe this is something that people should look at because what you say, put out on social media, even if it's on your personal profile, even if it's just with like some few hundred friends, it has an impact, and you need to be responsible for what you put out. Just because it's on social media, social media is not there for you to just go and just rant on about anything and everything, because whatever you put out on social media also has a consequence on other people's lives as well as your life. Because, for example, if I go and rant about some other person on social media and I haven't actually spoken to this person directly about it, then I don't think that is something people should do, because people should take responsibility. And social media is the public platform at the end of the day. No matter if you just have 10 followers or 50 followers or 5 million, you still have a number of followers. And unless you're putting out something about yourself, you should always understand that, think about what you post on social media and whether that could do, it could have any consequence to any other person. So I think people should always be more responsible when posting and think twice, because it might not affect you, but it might affect a lot of other people, and it can affect people in different ways. It can be about their beliefs, or it can even simply be about some food they like, or even some place they like to go to. So it differentiates, but at the end of the day, it can affect any person. So you need to be responsible.
Right.
I would just add to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
This is for those youngsters who are on social media. I'm sure others who are on this panel will agree with me. There are different reasons why people join social media, as I've said before. But there are also some accounts that have hit 1 million, there are accounts that have passed 1 million, and the content what they put is not content that you can see when there are 7 people around you. And if there is a brand or a client or someone who would like to associate with you, they will not. So sometimes this is for corporates. Sometimes they say, oh, I need a follower with like 1 million followers for me to promote my education brand. You can't promote an education brand with 1 million followers who may be followed by some guys who are just following this particular person for some sapper. Let's put it that way. You're never going to get your target. You rather choose that right person, even if that person has only 50 followers. Those 50 people are direct. They're core to the point. It's like if I want to speak to a lifestyle brand, I have to work with brands like Pulse, Life Online, because I have to go with something that where they speak about us enjoying life. Even Chokolaate. We have to keep these in mind. You can't just take the majority and be like, it's like an oldies radio station advertising about your next degree program. What can the grandmas and grandpas do? You have to speak to the right audience. You may have them as the #1 channel, but you're not going to get your result. So I think in social media, you have to make sure that even if you recruit somebody as an ambassador or a face or somebody to put a post, that person has to make sense to your brand. So don't be fooled by numbers. I think you have to be fooled by what they can do.
Right. Okay. Anyone else would like to add on to that?
Yeah, adding to what Danu said about like the whole industry and how they look at people with the whole followers of numbers, uh, they completely do the wrong thing of like, because I was part of this whole collaborator forum thing, right? Where they ask you, would you like to come review food? And okay, you put your name down saying, hey, I'd really like to come review your food because as a person, as an individual, I really like the food and I want to put up an post about it. But they look at people who have much more following than me, and some of them sometimes are just about travel and not about food. So they're not hitting their market, even though, you know, and it puts you down at a point because you're like, hey, I can really reach out to the people you're looking for, but those people are not in the influences that you picked, right? So it's a huge issue when it comes to the industry when they pick the wrong people, and then the people who are trying to make it out there and trying to be content creators and trying to be useful in the certain field that they want to work in don't get a chance, you know?
Right. Okay. Miss Naomi, you have anything to add in that regard?
Yeah, I do agree, but content you put, you should be careful. Once you put it out, you can't take it back. And some things can affect other people. So you must be always conscious. Like when you talk to people also, you will say things which will not put them down, which will not destroy them. So sometimes even racist things or against religion or against politics or some of those things, I think it's good to keep them away. There you won't affect people, but you can put your own creative abilities for others to see, because people like to see new things which come from younger people. So I'm talking about from the students' perspective, because there are a lot of creative things which people would like to see. Because this person is creative, I like to hire him. So whatever is in their interest, sometimes it might be food, it might be sport, it might be something, but that will interest people. So I think they should go things relating to their passion and avoid some things which will cause controversies.
Right. Thank you so much for that. So, we talked about content all this time, but there's also a background of technical knowledge that comes with creating content. So, some people start creating content and learn the technical aspect as they go on. Others learn the technical aspect first and then they go into creating content. So, this question once again goes to Miss Naomi. So, Ms. Naomi, several of the IIT alumni have also gone ahead to work in media and digital communication. So, do you think that technical knowledge from their higher education gives them an edge in the field?
Yeah, it is very good to be aware of the technical aspects on social media. It makes it easier because you don't have to learn as you go. Definitely you have a edge because you know how what to do and how to do. Otherwise accidentally you can fall into problems. But otherwise also there are people who learn and do it carefully, but definitely it's an edge.
Shake up an all-stars herstory.
Right. So, thank you, Ms. Naomi. So, as well as technical knowledge, there's also the perspective of security. So, Danu, I'd like to ask this question from you. So, not everyone starts their dream of being a social media star exactly aware of the ramifications and the security concerns that being online has. So, is there any advice you'd like to give anyone in terms of using social media in a safe manner?
Yes, I think if you are someone who runs a page, I think you need to have, is it the two-phase login? I think that's very important. Taking step like that to prevent your social media account being not hacked is very important. And also you need to be aware about the fact that social media also sort of creates a lot of jealousy, and it's like a quick reaction from people. Like, you can't offend anyone. It's a very thin line, and you have to know how to walk it so that you don't cross. And if like, I think if you have a number of set of people who are going to report you constantly, that means you'll be gone too. So a page can be taken down. So there are things. So I think in terms of security, there's one element to it, and also decency is another thing. So when you reply to someone, be kind to them, even if you have offended them. If you can say, sorry, maybe I didn't see it this way that you have said. Those are also security angle to it, because what's the point of having a fabulous page that you have worked on for like 4 years that gets shut down? What a disappointment would it be, because you just didn't be a bit empathetic about what's happening around you when you're on social media. So that's something that people have to just keep in mind before they do it.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. So, Sachitha, coming on to Pulse again. So, what I want to talk about is that Pulse has a huge network of contributors. It's not just a core team. It has a really good, strong core, but it also has a lot of support from the many freelancers and the contributors who help the brand in different ways, right? So has this network helped strengthen the company rather than keeping a fixed full-time staff only, or how did that work?
Yeah, so basically, we thought we'd stick to this business model of working with freelancers mainly, because when we started, we only had a very limited amount of resources, and we couldn't just build a big core team suddenly. So what we did was we sourced different freelancers for different jobs, depending on their skills, and that helped us very well. Because the thing is, when you have a big pool of freelancers that you can work with, you have the choice to pick and choose different people for different activities. Because, so for example, even if you take a photographer, some guys are good at taking portraits. Some guys are good at food photography. Some guys are good at architecture photography. So we can't just hire one photographer to cover all of our events, because it won't serve the purpose. It won't be the best for us, because we won't be able to get the best output from him, because he might be a guy just good at food photos. So we can't send him to an event to take photos. So for that, we need to use a different person. So likewise, it has helped us very well. And I mean, not just photographers, writers, to videographers, to presenters, all of them, different people have their different strengths and different avenues that they're good at. So I think it's one of the best ways to sort of get the best out of people, and it's also good for the freelancers, the guys who work with us. They can they have flexibility in on how they work. Plus, they can, if they're not too happy working with us, they can work with other people as well. So they don't have to just stick to working with us, and they don't have to stick to certain time frames. They can work at their will. Whenever they want to work, they can work. Otherwise, they can stay home. So it's a lot of flexibility and freedom on both their on the individual side as well as the organization side. And I think it's a very good business model that we have adhered to, and we will sort of go ahead in the same manner in the long run, because I mean we are blessed with a great team, core team in house, but in addition to that, we have about 60 odd freelancers working for us in different capacities. So I think that's one of the main ways we've been able to keep the quality of our content, because we use the best people for that, the right people rather for that particular job.
Right. Just to follow up on that, so does that flexibility and freedom come at a price? As in, you did mention that you have 60 odd freelancers. So is there any security concern that comes out of having so many freelancers, basically having the company represented in so many different ways and them also contributing to other platforms as well?
I mean, there's obviously, as I said before, in the previous question, we always train these guys once they come on board with us, and all of them get to know the guidelines of Pulse and how Pulse works, and we make sure these guys are able to understand the sort of culture that we're trying to bring about within the team. And so once they join the team, they sort of understand what's happening and how everything works now. And they also come and work with it, because unless you work with the team and how the team is going, they'll fall off the band. So I think, I mean, in terms of security, we haven't had any issues for the past 5 years. So I don't think it will be it will be an issue, and there are systems in place to manage the core teams as well as the freelancers. So, and all of them work hand in hand. So someone from the core team is always there when there is a freelancers, and then so in that way we can make sure that the core team always sort of make sure that the freelancers are doing their job in the best possible manner. I mean, systems and processes are what ensures that there aren't any breaches.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for that comprehensive answer. Ms. Naomi, I want to revisit a point you made earlier. So, like you said, there are a lot of employers who have been basically researching their interns and potential employers, and there have been a few problems that have arisen because students were judged by their personal social media profiles and not their resume. So what are your thoughts on this issue, and should individuals censor themselves in order to keep every aspect of their life professional?
Yeah, they have to think twice before posting information, because it is true, what you said is true. 70% of job recruiters reject candidates based on their online information. So you have to be careful what you put and what you don't put. The student has a choice of what he wants to put. So he should put out actually what his interests are and things like that, but not, as I said before, controversies which can, if you are very strong in trying to come into conflict and things like that, people will think twice. When they hire a person, they want a person like that. So it is good to have their personal branding, strong personal branding, and to bring out their skills and their passions and all that. So they could bring out whatever their skills are, and if they are genuine and they are original, people like to hire them. But they have to be careful on what they put. They should think, will my future employer like this information? So students, it's good that they think, because today definitely, in addition to this resume, everyone is going on to social media and selecting. So it's the choice of a student that he should make, because once you post, you can't remove it.
Right. Thank you for that insight. Would anyone like to add on to that by any chance? No? Okay. So moving on to the next question, that's for Raoul. So Raoul, you also mentioned a point previously that I want to revisit. You mentioned that when you're not in the right mindset, or when you're not in, when you're having a bad day, that you simply take a break. So do you plan out your breaks in advance, or does it simply reach the point where you know you have to take a break in order to keep your mind healthy, or how does it work?
It's definitely never been planned, that's for sure.
Right.
It's always come to that wall if you hit it face on and you're like, oh, I need to take a break. But if you know Denuka J from Instagram before, like
Mm.
he got recognized a lot. One of his first videos about creative blocks and taking a break on social media. Uh, so I'm just going to paraphrase what he said, and he says even if you take a break from social media and you come back, let's say you take a week's break or you take a month's break, you come back, you're still following the same people that affected your mental health, right? So it's not about always taking a break from social media. It's you should start to remove, just like you want to start removing toxic people from your life, or you want to start removing, unnecessary information from your news feed or whatever. You start unfollowing the people you don't want to follow, and that's completely fine. And I think people also, as me as a content creator, I also should understand, like, hey, I'm going to lose followers if I post something like this, but um, that's what happens. So talking about keeping your mental health uh, sane and steady, I think it's more than taking a break. What I've learned is to unfollow those people, maybe keep it on for a little bit, try and see if it's just a one-off thing, or even try and reach out to them and talk to them about it. But there are breaking points where you're like, you know what, this is not going anywhere. This is not great. The content that he or she is putting out is not helping my mental health. So I unfollow, and that's how I continue. But to mental health being on the creative side, it's tough because you do hit that wall and you're like, I have to put out a video by Friday or whatnot. And you have ample time during the week, but you end up doing it in the latter stages of the week because you hit that wall. So it's kind of tough when that happens. And it's definitely not planned.
Right. So speaking of hitting the wall, I'm just going to follow up. What advice would you give from your personal experience to someone who has hit that wall midway through a project, or who has lost their original source of inspiration?
I would say if you are someone, I've completely been on that side of the wall, if you are someone who's definitely lost inspiration, please go back to their content creators who you were following, and you were inspired by. Just go back to their videos, even if they haven't put out new videos, even if they haven't done anything up to date. Just go back to the old videos that inspired you to get onto it, to do it. Like specifically, if you take photography and cinematography, you look at Peter McKinnon, and he's someone that I go and follow all the time. So just go back to watching his videos and getting inspired again, because as a photographer you see, like, the compositions, the angles, the way he edits his photos are different, the vibe you get is different. So you just want to go back and get inspired. And if you have a creative block, don't worry about it. Don't pressure yourself to post content, because you're not putting out content that is going to be great, and you always want to be hitting content better than your last one, right? And if you have a deadline in a project, maybe take a day off, maybe an hour off, uh, collect your thoughts, listen to some music, do something that calms you down and get back into it. There's no hurry other than if you have a deadline.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Thank you. So going back to Danu, Danu, so you have a huge following, like you mentioned, 22K, about to be 23. So how do you stay true to yourself when there's so many people watching you constantly, watching what you do, watching what you put out?
I don't know. It's just simple. I think it's easier to be the truthful person so that if somebody sees you at Park Street or if they see you at the Margam Holler, you're going to be the same person. It's very difficult if you change who you are just because you are in an equation. And telling you the truth, I come from a world of plastic. I work in so much where, you know, lots of things are judged by what you wear, about the cologne you have on you, the type of brand that you have on you. Uh, but there's always, end of it all, what I want is to just come home, hug my dog, and go to sleep. It's a simple thing that I want. As long as you know what you're doing is just, you're doing as who you are. I cannot change myself today and call myself Rihanna tomorrow. It's going to be terrible. So it's just good to just be who you are. And I think the ones who are genuine have always made it on social media. I've always gone back and watched their videos to be inspired or to be connected. And like that urge where you feel like, oh, I really wish I see them. Because you feel like, oh my God, you know, there's, you know, I will tell you a couple who have really inspired me in Sri Lanka for being so authentic and so real. Like I have always said it. If I see them, I'll just give them the warmest hugs always, because every time I see their stories, I'm more mesmerized. It's Travel with Wife. Those two are just simply so genuine. When they don't know something, they're like, "Meka mokadda kiyala danne ane, mokadda meka hoyaganna one." And that is beautiful. And the fact that, you know, she will say, like recently I watched, because she's pregnant, she has said, she's like, how cute is that? You understand, like, you know, they are a young couple, he's so excited that she's pregnant. Obviously you don't want her to slip and fall in the rain. So, you know, you are a part of their journey. And I've always told Kasun and this girl, I'm like, you know, you guys are actually eye openers. They speak in Sinhalese, they connect with you so really, and I've loved it. And Sinhalese is not even my second language. But I understand it and I want to be a part of it because they're so real. And they talk about the fact training in that's what it is. You know, none of us, I'm not getting, my car is smaller than me, man. For truth. It's the
Right.
truth. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I really love that answer, and I think that's something anyone can carry away from this discussion. So, speaking of how to utilize who you follow, how do you stay true to yourself? The next question I would like to pose to Sachitha. So, Sachitha, Pulse has also a large following, being a media corporation. So, do you believe media companies like Pulse should use their influence to campaign and talk about important social issues? Or alternatively, is remaining silent and therefore neutral the best idea?
I mean, definitely, just like us, any media outlet that has a good following has social responsibility to talk about social issues. Because as I said earlier, media shapes the people's thinking patterns. I mean, because at the end of the day, whatever information, especially or most of the information people consume these days is through social media. So the bigger your following is, the more people you are influencing on how they think. So it's imperative that you understand this responsibility and make sure that you work towards it. So I mean, Pulse has always always been the first to put out any important social issues that come about, and even with our event, sorry, even with our event Taboo that we had for the second time running this year, what we wanted to make sure was that we create conversations on issues that are not spoken of in the country but are very big issues. So and through that we have actually been able to get others also to start talking about these things. I mean, especially at Taboo, there were some topics that we spoke on that No one even thought of in Sri Lanka, but were real problems. So I think it's imperative, and I think all media companies should rather look at talking and discussing about these social issues. And I think last week or so, Pride Month ended, and we had Pulse as well as I saw Daily Mirror also, which was very something very nice to see. The mainstream media getting into talking about LGBTQ rights and all this. So I think it's Sri Lanka is heading a good way, and we should go that way as well. And also, what we need to understand is how important our voice is, because any person with as Danu said, any person with a device and an internet connection can be a mobile journalist. So, I mean, if we have a platform like this, why not use it for the betterment of society? And betterment of society always includes speaking about social issues that aren't spoken of.
Right. Okay. So we've actually reached the end of our listed questions, but we do have a few questions from our audience on Facebook. So the first is, how can I monetize from building my Instagram page without becoming an influencer? So I'd like to direct this question at Raoul and Danu. Would either of you like to go first?
Danu, by all means, please go first.
Please repeat the question again if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. How can I monetize from building my Instagram page without becoming an influencer?
Okay. There is no system for it still. Sachitha, if I'm correct, I don't think there is. But I will say...
yeah, there is.
There is?
No, there is no system. That's what Facebook and Instagram, only YouTube can be monetized in Sri Lanka right now. Facebook will hopefully roll it out in the near future, but not Instagram.
So when I, like, for example, when I go to a restaurant, I eat their food, I never do a review because I'm not Gordon Ramsay to say, oh my God, this creme brulee was not so good at all. How the hell would I know how to bake a creme brulee? I mean, I can't. But I know when a creme brulee tastes good. So I'm like, oh, this was so tasty. I can do a feature, but not a review. You need to always get that words right. A review could only be done by a professional in that industry. If you're a makeup artist, you need to know your makeup. You should have studied your marbles to come and say your eyeliner is just terrible. If you are some mini heavy life tells me your eyeliner is bad, I'll be offended. So I never tried because I can't cook. How can I go and tell somebody that, you know, I can, and also I can't expect to go to a restaurant like Pila and say, I saw a stain on the side of the spoon and it was terrible. I'll never. You can't. That's the whole experience of you going, sitting in the car, like looking at the dog sitting there, like looking at you for the bone, and you trying to suffer your way through the car and also eat that and wait for the ice Milo that's coming. That is what the experience is about. But if you go to a 7-star hotel, yeah, you expect a nice polished silver to be there. So if you want to monetize it, you can. I'm sure Facebook will find a way to do all of this because they will compete in the market. But start building your content right now. Your content should be, only thing I can critique someone is if somebody maybe asks me something about, hey, can you help me out with media a little bit? Even that sometimes I'm not fit to do, because sometimes I can never go and tell a news journalist something because they are professionals in what they do. So we have to also know our place when we do something, because there's no right or wrong. It's the knowledge that makes it right. So if you don't have knowledge, don't open your gap and fall into trouble.
Right.
And I think, Danu, to add to that, micro influencers is something that's brewing in the Western world. We still haven't really gotten into that in Sri Lanka as of yet, but it will surely come. And brands internationally are more directed towards advertising with micro influencers rather than mainstream influencers. Because as Danu said earlier, um, so much content goes up on mainstream influencers and there's so many followers, you cannot directly say what sort of people you you're getting your brand across to. But with micro influencers, if a micro influencer has only 500 people following, those 500 will be very, very loyal to this particular influencer. And this particular influencer will have so much influence over these 500 people as opposed to someone with 100, 200,000 followers. So I think that culture will also brew up very soon in Sri Lanka. And I mean, if you have, even if you don't have too many followers, if you have a good loyal following, I think maybe you can look at monetizing in that sense as well.
I told you this boy is good at it.
Right. Raoul, you have anything to add?
Yes, talking about what Danu said, just adding to it, be very mindful of the content you put out for, that's for sure. Like I do rant about people from time to time. I do rant about things, but be mindful about what you post, because one of my rants is about a content creator that gives out a bad influence to people, you know, that you have to have certain the top phone or this and that, or a good looking body to be, you know, successful in life. And that's not the content you want to be giving out when you have 170 odd thousand followers, because the people who follow you are going to be the next step in the future generations of our country. Like they are the next, you know, and you don't want them coming out with this idea of, oh, I need this, I need to have this, I need to do this, I need to be with such a, you know, group of people to be successful, because you are successful in your own way, and that people should be reminded of every single time. So be very mindful of what content you want to put out, and monetize that if that's what you're going to do. Don't put out content for the masses and be like, hey, you know, this content is for y'all. Put out content which you are passionate about and monetize that when it comes out.
Right. Thank you. That I think was a really comprehensive answer to that question. So the next one I would actually like to direct to Miss Naomi. The question is LinkedIn considered important as of date for a professional way of building your own brand?
Yeah, definitely. LinkedIn is one of the social media which builds in your brand, because you can indicate all your skill sets. You can put the projects that you're involved in. You can gradually build it up. And also you can see what others are doing. You can connect with researchers online through LinkedIn. When you create a profile, you can find people in the same interest groups and you can connect with them. This helps your reach go beyond the national boundaries and reach out to professionals beyond, and also gain a lot of knowledge. And also you can put in recommendations from various sources, especially when you have done exciting work. And sometimes even your peers can recommend you. So it's a good platform to build your professional career.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. So the next question I think I would like to direct to all of you. Do you think you've had to face more challenges along the way due to your culture or race? Would anyone like to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Danu and I have been in the same school, and we've definitely, being Jaffna Tamil boys, we've definitely been through a lot. I think Danu has been through a lot more than I have. Recently, also, there was a mental health page that requested a video of us, and then of my friend and I, and we posted on it, and then a girl caught sight that this page suddenly started posting pro-Elam, pro-LTT propaganda on it. And then without coming to us, you know, or even asking us or having the decency of asking us, just called us out as you know, these guys are LTT and they're enjoying Sri
Yes,
Lankan
well,
businesses and food, right?
me too.
So
I didn't even know about
definitely
this.
do have, yeah, this happened.
Really?
Yeah,
Ayo.
I know, right?
Just
Um,
imagine me in the Ulam man. I'll look at a gun and piss in my pants. Sorry.
right? So it definitely does affect you depending on your culture, your religion, your religious beliefs. And that's a shame because I think people should be able to freely express themselves and be who they are as long as they're not detrimental towards society, you know?
Yeah, I will just add to that. One thing though, people are very opinionated. I have never hidden anything in terms of, as I always say, I always like to say the truth. And yeah, I do come from Jaffna. I have never been someone who has openly canvassed for anyone or anything or any agenda-based thing, because that is not what I'm here to do. I'm here to entertain people, and that is my thing. Not to say this is right and this is wrong. And the war or what ethnic barriers or religious opinions could vary differently to every single person. What my classmate might have gone through in Jaffna because of the war, and what I went through because of Jaffna, in Jaffna because of the war, is very different. We have two different stories, two different ways of seeing it. How we came here, the ripple effects of the war changes to different people. So it's how you see it. You cannot enforce a story, a mindset based on a story. It's actually the experiences that define the story. So I feel that it's very important to let religious and caste and all of these things out, because I think we need to just think of ourselves as human. Just imagine when the amount of things that are going on Facebook and social media, you feel so scared to say anything these days because you just get bullied over it.
Right. Sachitha, you have anything to add?
I think Danu and Raoul pretty much spoke about.
Right. Miss Naomi, anything from your end?
I also totally agree with them. There is this cyberbullying which is very common today, and I think we know that people have different tolerance levels, and these things can affect people. So I think we have to be honest, and when we think there are disagreements, it's better to stay away from that. And maybe even in situations, if you can't cope with it, you even block those people because you want to keep peace on social media.
Right. Thank you so much. So we are moving on to the next question. This is the last question. So I think this would go to Ms. Naomi and Sachitha. As larger corporations, what do you think of the role digital media plays in everyone's daily life? What do you think the future will look like for people?
The old
Can you
digital
repeat?
media. Yeah, you can go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Miss Anna.
Yeah, the old digital media, of course, today we have, I don't know, with the COVID-19 and with a lot of restrictions, people movement and traveling and all that, I think there is more on to, when I look at the education sector, we see that online teaching, online learning, online meetings, even with the geographical differences are increasing. Even we are planning to have in 2 weeks time a cutting edge exhibition where students demonstrate their creative work which they have carried out over the year using social media and other media platforms. So it's only going to increase, and there are going to be more breakthroughs coming in technology, which will not just make it available to just see it, but even to feel it, like going in for more 3D, 4D animations and making even people review products from other countries, which is already happening, but it will go to another level with also with artificial intelligence and so many other breakthroughs and the hardware becoming even more powerful. So there is going to be a bigger change with technology and reach. That is what we see.
Right. Thank you so much. Sachitha, just to repeat the question for you. As larger corporations, what do you think of the role digital media plays in everyone's daily life? What do you think the future will look like?
I think digital media has transformed how we live. I mean, COVID, I think, was a huge turning point in every Sri Lankan's life, especially, and how Sri Lankans consume the social media and digital media. Because, I mean, now I think after Corona ended, I mean, we can pretty much get mostly anything done through social media. I mean, once we take our phone to our hand, from getting food to getting groceries to I don't know, watching comedy to whatever you want to do, it's readily available on your palm. So be it a business, be it a restaurant, be it a person, I think there won't be a future without social media. So if you're still not on it, you're already late, but maybe at least start now. But in the future, it's just going to be digital media because it's just made everything easier. We don't have to do anything physically anymore. I mean, even this webinar is something a few months ago we would have probably had to book a venue, do all these things, get everyone together at one place, and we're just staying at our homes peacefully and comfortably and just doing this whole session. I think that's where it's headed, and it's going to be all social media in the future.
Right. Thank you so much. So, with that, we have actually reached the end of our discussion today. So, thank you very much to all of you for taking time out of your schedules on Sunday evening and coming to share your views with us. Before we conclude, one last shout out to our partner, the Informatics Institute of Technology. Thank you to our viewers as well who joined us and have been tuned in through our Facebook stream and also on Zoom. And I wish you all the very best and good evening.